YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. Recapping that shit show they call Thursday Night Football. Buccaneers 20, Panthers 14. Disappointing game, disappointing outcome if you look at my predictions. We'll get into that in just a second. Subscriber goal is at 40K by the end of this year. We got you covered with all kinds of different predictions, power rankings, recaps. Also got college football content too. We're always adding more as well. So you're going to want to subscribe. Turn notifications on, click the like button. Check us out on Twitter, live tweeting plenty of NFL and college games. Appreciate you very much if you subscribe to our channel. Back to the game, just to recap it, break it down a little bit. Terrible game. Two teams that looked very bad. I mean, and we'll go over the positives about the Bucs, but they didn't. I mean, it wasn't. If you're a Bucs fan, yeah, you got to be happy. A win's a win, but I don't know if you can be too excited because there wasn't too much great things out of this game. We'll go over what I mean by that in just a second. But two teams that did not play good. It was a bad offensive game, and it looked like, for the most part, a defensive game for two teams that really don't have good defenses. Two teams that you should be able to score on. So it was a strange game. Then you had I guess I can't be too mad about the weather delay because nobody can control that. But throw that in the mix and throw the terrible officiating in the mix. The ball spotting, the whole face mask thing. They had to figure out where to put the ball. They actually had to go review it just for themselves. Nobody reviewed anything. And they had the Panthers challenge pass interference. Let's talk about that first. The pass interference challenge by Ron Rivera. The receiver ran about 6 yards downfield, I would call it, 5 to 6 yards downfield, and got hit pretty hard. And the correct call, and I agree, is illegal contact. But the problem with that is they cannot reverse or call illegal contact after reviewing a penalty. They only can call pass interference, which, not blaming really the refs on that part. They had a terrible game officiating, but I'm not going to blame the refs on that part because they stuck with the rules. That's kind of the NFL's doing. If you can just, all of a sudden we can review pass interference, you're going to have to add illegal contact. So next year we're going to be adding illegal contact. And the year after that, we're going to be reviewing holding penalties. And the year after that, we're going to be reviewing false starts and offside, which false starts are ridiculous. Every game, the officiating crews are missing false starts. The left and right tackle go early every time. It's ridiculous. So the refs were terrible, not blaming them. They got the right call according to the NFL rules. It's just the NFL's doing by making pass interference reviewable. It just makes everything look worse. In my opinion, if pass interferences are reviewable, then illegal contact needs to be too. But in my opinion, you should not be able to review penalties. Yeah, refs get it wrong, but they shouldn't get as many wrong as they are. It's almost time for a new officiating crew, I think, because it's the same guys for years, and maybe they're just getting washed up, kind of like NFL players do at a point in their career. I think that's really what's happening because it's gotten really bad. I'd say 3 years ago it kind of started. 2 years ago is when it really was bad, and it continued on and maybe getting worse last year and this year. So we'll get that out of the way, my rants about officiating. I'm sure more of those will come as the season goes on. Let's talk about the Buccaneers. What was a positive? Shaquille Barrett was outstanding in this game. 3 sacks in one game is impressive. He continued to get pressure against that Panthers offensive line and against Cam, which forced him to make some bad throws. Vernon Hargreaves, kind of looking like a bust over the last couple of years, and people felt was like on the bubble for a roster cut, and then which people thought that, but I don't know if he actually was, if he's out here starting. But he played good last game against the Niners, and he played very well in this game. A lot of tackles, really in on every play. Not the best throws from Cam, so he should be. And then making the big stop at the end. McCaffrey's a hard runner. Had a pretty nasty stiff arm on that. A lot of corners would probably went to the ground on that one. And I've seen Panthers cornerbacks go to the ground on stuff like that during this game. And I thought Hargreaves was just fantastic in this game, making that big-time stop on McCaffrey. And then Godwin was great too. Racked up some yards. What do you have? He had 121 yards and a touchdown, but really not that. Just the fact that he was able to consistently get open. He was actually open more times than you would think. I thought Winston actually missed on him on a couple times. The run defense was great too. Christian McCaffrey who we'll talk more about, but who was a great running back. The Bucs stopped him. Credit to not only Ndamukong Suh, but Vita Vea. I thought he really stood out to me. That's the Vita Vea we want to see. That's the guy. Showing a lot of promise in his potential. It was a great game from him. Not only making stops up the middle, which you expect from him, and I did expect him to be a big step up this year because I think he fits Todd Bowles' defense pretty darn good. But the bonus was we saw him kind of get outside a little bit, which is very impressive. So Vita Vea, a lot of promise here. Good showing in this game. And then Suh was good too. Whole defensive line stopping the run. Pretty impressive. Linebackers were okay. Devin White unfortunately got hurt. The kind of in-between here was Winston and the offensive line. Why not good? Why not really bad? Because Winston, it's kind of what he has to do for the most part. Manage the game. He didn't throw his pick. He didn't throw a pick. Last game he kind of cost him, throwing multiple interceptions, 3 interceptions, I believe it was. But I thought his pocket presence really wasn't there. Sometimes he would act like, because the offensive line did let him get hit quite a few times and did allow a lot of pressure, the times that the pressure wasn't coming to him, he kind of acted like it was. So I guess you can blame the offensive line for that. And the offensive line, the reason they're in the middle here is because consistency, which I talked about all offseason. This offensive line is super inconsistent. One time it looks like it's a really good offensive line, and one time it looks like it's the worst offensive line in football. It's never just like, just solid or just like kind of bad. It's either just really, really bad. It's kind of Winston's kind of like that too. Talked about that in the offseason. Winston sometimes looks like a Pro Bowl quarterback, sometimes looks like the worst quarterback in the NFL. And there was a couple times where Winston had guys like Godwin or Mike Evans open. I guess he didn't see him, and he had more time than he thought. So, and maybe even though he didn't throw an interception, maybe he could have thrown an interception or two. Some bad throws. So he didn't have the best game, but it could be worse. It's kind of what he has to do to manage the game in a game like this. But he definitely could be better. I would like his pocket presence to be a little better. The offensive line, once again, inconsistent, but could be worse, I guess. What was really bad that stood out to me was the receiver unit. Godwin was great. Mike Evans, you expect more from Mike Evans, but he did his job. He played well. After that, and I talked about this in off-season videos too, and when I made my receiver unit rankings, people were confused why the Buccaneers were towards the bottom. It's because they legit have 2 wide receivers. They got nothing else. You saw Brashard Perriman. Winston's best throw of the game went to Brashard Perriman in the end zone and just right through his hands. He tried to catch it awkwardly. His fault. Perfect throw. Should have caught it even with the awkward position of his hands. But they got nothing. They got nothing after the 2 receivers. And you look at the tight ends, I think Brate's solid. O.J. Howard's non-existent right now. I think he's capable of very much more, I should say. But he's just nowhere to be. No, not even a target in this game. So is that a connection between him and the quarterback? Is that kind of more Bruce Arians' offense? There was a lot of times where Howard wasn't on the field, so maybe it's more of Bruce Arians' offense. Maybe this could be a guy that comes up in trade talks closer to the trade deadline. Again, last year receiver unit was much better. They had more to it. Now they just got 2 guys, and that's a problem. The big problem, kind of what I was trying to get at in the beginning of this video, the Bucs fans, you can be happy because you got a win. A win's a win. I'd be happy, but you can't be super excited about this because the Panthers played so bad. They had 1 player play good. It was a disaster, and the Panthers were a yard away from winning that game as long as the extra point went in. That's kind of a bad thing for the Bucs. You play, Winston doesn't throw a pick. You have some, there's most spots, that's about as best as they can play. Mike Evans can play better, but it's kind of on Winston to play better without throwing interceptions, which he did. It's almost where the Bucs can be at their best this season. That they'll play better, they'll have better games, but it's almost there, and they still could have lost the game. To me, that's a scary thing. And then over to the Panthers, Luke Kuechly played an elite football game. Elite. It could have been a step better if he caught that interception, which would have been a darn good athletic play. That was impressive, even though he should have caught it. Great game for him. He got the safety. He was by himself there. They really couldn't stop the run. If you look at the averages, didn't look too great on the Bucs' part. I thought Peyton Barber was really good, but there was like big moments where the Buccaneers were running it, and there was giant holes, and it was like up to Luke Kuechly to go get him when he's getting double blocked, and it's just disaster. If you look at the stats, it doesn't look like the run blocking was too bad, but if you watch the game, it was bad. And that's a defensive line that should be better. I broke down this Panthers team in the offseason, and one thing that I thought was good on the defense was the D-line. Didn't think it was any special. Panthers fans tell me it was better than I thought, but I thought it was good, and it did not look good in this game. Between Poe, McCoy, and Short was on his way to being elite a couple years ago. I'm not sure what happened to him. But looking at all these guys that come in on the D-line, the rotation too, it's got to be better. So unfortunate there that they're able to let some big run plays happen. That was, I guess, the difference. Able to run some clock for the Bucs too and keep the lead like they did the whole game. And then Cam Newton, he has to be hurt, right? Like, this can't be real because he was very bad, very bad. If they played Kyle Allen, I think they win this game. That's crazy because I think they do. That's how bad Cam was. If they play their backup, I think they win the game. It's crazy. 25 for 51. He had 333 yards passing. If you throw the ball 51 times, you better have that. So he's under 50% completions percentage there, and he should have thrown multiple interceptions. That's kind of been a talking point to a lot of quarterbacks last week, end of last year. You point out some quarterbacks here and there. These guys should throw more interceptions. Well, here's a great example. Cam Newton was very lucky. He didn't throw an interception at all. Very lucky. Terrible game from him. I do think he's hurt because it looks like sometimes he's using all of his body to throw the ball, just using every bit of strength he has left. I do think he's hurt, but only the Panthers know. Only the Panthers organization, coaching staff knows. Only Cam knows. But if he is indeed hurt, they should not be playing him. He should not play next week. He shouldn't. They could have won this game with the backup. I really think that. The offensive line wasn't too good. They were getting pressure. And then the Buccaneers pass rushes, Shaq Barrett should not be getting 3 sacks. He's not a bad player at all. He should not be getting 3 sacks in a game. The offensive line, I talked about the offensive line was on the weaker side of the NFL in the offseason. Panthers fans told me no, it's a problem. It's a problem. And I thought the offensive line and Christian McCaffrey weren't really on the same page. What I mean by that is I almost can't tell who's at fault on some of these run plays because to me, my take on it is look like early in the game, McCaffrey kind of trusted the offensive line to make the holes a little too much. We see it's the running back's job to kind of bounce it off. The holes aren't there. And I think that was a problem. I think the holes weren't there, and McCaffrey was kind of trusting it, and he had opportunities to bounce it outside. Or you can make the argument that, which I don't see McCaffrey being this, off, was that the play was actually designed for him to bounce outside, and he just wasn't bouncing him outside. That's kind of hard to believe, but that looked like the case too. McCaffrey was off his game either way last night, just didn't look right, and I was really hyping him up. I thought he was the best player in week 1. I thought he really carried the team. I thought you can argue he's the best non-quarterback in football, and then he was not good in this game. That final play, I thought he could have, he went too much to the sideline. That is the obvious thing. Too much to the sideline. And it's tough to tell what he could have done there because a giant hole opened up on the inside, but McCaffrey got the ball and instantly, and I tweeted that right after it happened that I thought McCaffrey could have cut it up and just walked in the end zone. After looking at it again, he was actually a step ahead of that blocking. So he instantly got the ball and instantly went to the outside, and we don't know. Only the coaching staff knows what was the right thing to do there. Because a giant hole opened up just a step behind McCaffrey. He didn't even look for it. So was he supposed to go straight to the outside? Was it just McCaffrey's call, which I don't think it should be right, so that's on North Turner? Or was that, hole going to open up and expected to open up, but he just didn't look for it? Either way, if he was going to the sideline, I think he went too much on an angle to the sideline. Not really a good move by McCaffrey, but the hole did open up. Did it open up late? It almost looked like the blocking scheme was to push everybody outside and let the hole open up. Was that purposely done, or is the line that bad where they did something by mistake or they just got beat? People blame the play design. I don't blame it too much. I kind of like the call. It's just Only they know. It's not one of those situations. Only they know what was supposed to be done. Was McCaffrey supposed to instantly, as fast as he can, go to the sideline? I don't know if he's supposed to go directly to the sideline, but it kind of looked like maybe that, and I think the offensive line could be to blame, but McCaffrey had an off night. There's so many different scenarios there, but nothing was right on that. I don't mind the play call itself, but nothing was right. And I thought tackling was very poor. They let runs through. They couldn't tackle Barber. The secondary tackling was atrocious. Dante Jackson, he had himself a bad game, and that's their best corner. That's pretty bad. That's their best corner. He had a bad game, was kind of getting beat. Winston kind of missing some throws when he got beat, hit some throws, he got beat. Wanted no part of tackling, kind of just went to punch the ball out sometimes with one arm without wrapping the other arm around. There was a couple times where he had Barber, and he kind of just, almost like he gave up. There was one time we had him wrapped up, and he kind of just let go, and it just, I don't know. That's supposed to be their best corner. So looking at these two teams' secondaries, that's where they're very, very, very weak. These offenses should be scoring a bunch of points on them, and they couldn't because the quarterback play was pretty bad. Offensive line play was pretty bad. The main thing was I was just surprised at McCaffrey. He did not have a good game. He should have bounced some plays out. Wasn't on the same page as offensive line. Also surprised more points weren't scored. I said the Panthers were a good team, almost a lock, and to cover at 6.5. Hopefully that line switched to 7 and nobody took it. But you look at Thursday night primetime games, under 7 points favored. The home team wins and covers. I think now it's 11-2. What is that? The last 13 games, the Thursday night home team win and cover 11 times and lost 2 times. Those 2 losses in terms of the game and the spread was the Panthers and the Bears this week and last week. So weird start for Thursday night football to the 2019 season. So I guess no more betting on Thursday night football maybe. The Panthers should win this game. They have a lot of holes that stood out like I kind of explained through the offseason. People told me, I guess Panthers fans continue to tell me no. They showed up. I like Cam Newton. My concern was, is he hurt still? That turns out to be true. The offensive line, I had a concern. They told me no, but it's a concern. I still like McCaffrey. Receiver unit could be better. Cam had some bad throws, but some of these balls should be caught. Curtis Samuel looks awkward to me. He still looks like, when is he going to take the next step from going from a running back to a receiver? I thought maybe this year. He looks awkward catching the ball. Not that he was bad or anything, but he looks awkward. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. DJ Moore looks right catching the ball. He looks right. Greg Olsen made some crazy catches. He was good. I don't know. They need more receivers. Jarius Wright had a surprising drop. That's not like Jarius Wright. He's not going to wow you with a bunch of catches and yards, but got to catch the ball. That's something he's usually good at. But, defensive line I thought was going to be solid this year. It didn't look good in this game. Secondary is very bad. It's basically it was Kuechly. It was the Buccaneers versus Kuechly, and something kind of like I already said to sum it up. Good win for the Buccaneers, but man, the way the Panthers played, the Buccaneers should easily win this game. The Panthers should not have a shot. Again, I thought the officiating was terrible in this game, but that's me summing this game up. Is it panic time already in Carolina? It's only 2 games, so I would normally say no, but in this case, it almost looks like, yeah, this is a game you need to win. Prime time at home. Losing that game is kind of bad. Adding that on top of Cam being hurt, playing hurt, add that into the mix. Adding, all the other holes on this team, not looking good. They don't have the hardest schedule. That's the good news. But this is a game that's like part of them not having a hard schedule. Playing the Buccaneers at home in prime time. Go win the game. And the Buccaneers, I can say the same thing. Go win the game. Go put this game away. They did a good job defensively. Some players stood out. Todd Bowles had himself a good, well-coached game. But Panthers were that bad. It looked like maybe the worst team in football in this game. Go put this game away, So, I thought it almost looked like the Dolphins are the worst team in football. The Giants are right there with them. But it almost looked like 2 of the worst teams, 2 teams that can compete with the Giants and Dolphins. I kept yelling at my TV during this game because how bad it was, mainly on the offensive side, but at the same time keeping in mind these defenses aren't that good. They look better than they actually are, and that's a fact. So that's my thoughts on this game. Hopefully we got some better Thursday night games coming. Unfortunately, next week is the Titans and the Jags. For some reason, those two teams play on Thursday night every year, and it's never really a good game. The Titans look good right now. It would have been a good game, I think, if Nick Foles didn't get hurt. We'll see how Minshew is. That's our subscriber goal. Already showed you that. Apologize for that popping up again. But we got you covered. Recaps. We'll recap Sunday's action on Monday. We got updated power rankings every single week. We got straight up picks, score predictions, college football content as well. Follow us on Twitter for more updates and more content on our Patreon as well. Link at the top of the description. Thanks everyone for the support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.